were living in Montclair, New Jersey, and I had actually just gone to India for a project, and I came back and was literally kicked out of our New York office. I have to give George credit. He was paying way more attention to the pandemic. I was not taking it seriously. He was. A couple floors above us was a COVID case, and I was, they gave us an hour to get things out of the office. And at the time, we really thought it was going to be like 2 weeks, right? Like we thought okay, the kids were going to be home for 2 weeks. The office was going to be shut for a little bit, but we thought it was going to open. But very quickly, we discovered that remote learning sucked.
To say it lightly.
Yeah. Personally, I was working on nights and weekends to get my project done, and then doing the school during the day. And we would spend 4 or 5 hours a day minimum with our first grader. And our first grader, every day to take attendance, she had to do a morning journal. And the morning journal, she would have to write 3 sentences for the morning journal, and it would take 45 minutes. And I was it was just really hard. I felt very angry, but I also knew I had to keep it together for my daughter. And my daughter was acting out. And I just kind of immediately thought, we got to get out of here. This isn't working. If this is the best that they can do, this is not it. We were looking at Nashville because we have an office here. And we also, our babies were born in the state of Tennessee, which is a whole nother story. But all of our babies were born on the farm in Tennessee. So we knew people here. I found this private school that I was really interested in. We shifted our entire budget so that we could send our kids to private school in Nashville. And we decided very consciously that we were going to invest in our children's education. We felt like this is what we need to do for our kids. And that's why we moved to Nashville.
When we set up our house and when we were thinking about how we were going to raise our kids, we were planning on them going to school and it being the classic thing that, we grew up with. So when the pandemic hit and there was remote learning and we essentially were homeschooling, we weren't set up for it. We were even where to, multiple screens, and I became the IT guy for that, for the family, which, trust me, is not really my forte. And so I think immediately we were really trying to figure out, we were not only concerned for the learning of our children, but the mental health of our children. And we were really, our own mental health is connected to the well-being of our children. And so, one of the things was, okay, we didn't really have a lot of space. And one thing about Nashville is you can get more space. Mm-hmm. I think the pandemic forced us to sort of
choose our priorities.
Yeah, start designing, around our priorities in a way that we hadn't.
I was actually working on a project that was about education and extreme poverty. So I came back to New Jersey having been in literally there were these 1-room homes where there'd be 4 or 5 people living in a single room that's smaller than the living room, and no shower, no proper bathroom, people using a bucket of water to wash themselves, and no proper toilet, really basic living. Going to school and having access to learning technology, learning software that was better than what my kids were on. And so I came home and my kids went into remote learning pretty much, 2 weeks after I was in India. And so it was fresh in my mind and going, how is it possible my kids in the suburb of New Jersey are having a worse experience than kids in extreme poverty in India? I was like, this is crazy. Mm-hmm. But I just felt like the school district did not pivot as quickly as they needed to. But then, George was saying, the mental health aspect is huge. Our son Roark, who was in 4th grade at the time, was telling his piano teacher, they would do Zoom piano, and was telling him that he was depressed. And we were worried about that. I've always loved animals. And that's been, kind of a source of joy. And I felt like we were lacking joy. I felt like that was the thing for me, it's I have been through some really challenging times in my life. And I think that when we go through challenging times, one of the things that helps is trying to intentionally find meaning, to find humor, to find joy, not just wait for the storm to pass, but actually to take effort, take action to make things happen. And I felt chickens. I felt like chickens were the answer. No, I totally had a COVID crazy buy. I found a fancy chicken coop online, and then we decided to move to Nashville. So what we did is we arranged for the coop to not be delivered to New Jersey. We arranged the coop to arrive in Tennessee. So the chicken coop was on a field in Tennessee waiting for us. But then the real story is we could not for the life of us get the chicken coop delivered. It took us literally a month of begging, texting and calling to get our chicken coop delivered. And when it was delivered, the folks who delivered didn't know what the heck they were doing, and it was damaged and it was moldy and covered in spiders. My best friend was like, you don't have to keep the chicken coop, you could return it. And it was like fireworks in my brain. We got 20 chicks in the mail. They were all alive when they arrived, which was amazing. 2 of our chicks died after the neighbor kids handled them a little rough. Sorry, I felt so bad. And then we had 18 pullets. And there were these birds in our basement, and it was stinky because it was filled with chicken poop, and it was and we were like that's when we were begging to get our coop delivered.
We had to find something because you immediately, I think, had identified a really good coop maker here in Nashville. And so, and oddly enough, it's not like you just go anywhere and get a coop, but you had found one at Wayfair. And, we put it together. My son and I put it together, and essentially I was like, this is like, we went from like the Cadillac of, coops to like, some Eastern Soviet bloc, rendition of a car.
I learned so much from that experience of returning the coop. Like right away I learned a bunch because I'd never had chickens. Is that you want a covered run because otherwise in the rain the chickens get wet. So like this like super basic setup we have is it has plastic over the top, so at least this chickens stay dry, and they have gone through several storms.
It's nice to just hang out with the chickens, and regardless of what is going on at work, the chickens are, kind of a grounding effect, and they just, once you get over the poop and stuff.
There's a lot of poop.
Yeah. And, once you get over that, it's kind of nice to just sit there and kind of look at them. They kind of hang out together. They, you start seeing the relationships that they kind of have. Some are definitely more, affable to being picked up than others. I had a grandfather that was a farmer, a pig farmer, but he had cows, chickens. And I remember going out really early in the morning, and the chicks would be out there, and around, I'd look at them through the chicken wire. And I never really put it all together. And I remember having like, breakfast at their, their table. And when we started really, going and getting the eggs, and then you would cook breakfast, it was really a satisfying moment that I had not thought would be that satisfying. I was like, okay, I get it. You don't get stored, yeah, okay. In theory, it sounds fine. But now, we went on vacation, we bought eggs, and it was kind of really hard, but I knew we needed eggs. It was like, oh, what are we going to do? And
they don't taste the same.
They don't taste the same.
They don't taste the same at all.
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know. It's like you pet someone else's dog. You're petting a dog, but it's not the same thing. You want to pet your dog. You want to eat your chicken eggs.
I think the pandemic has been really hard on parents. And so in some ways, getting chickens during the pandemic in response to COVID is utterly ridiculous. But it also is brilliant because it has brought us closer together as a family. And we were talking about this yesterday because we talk about the chickens every single day with our children. We like the kids talk about the chickens, the kids participate, we talk about the chickens, and like in some ways it feels like ridiculous because you're like, well, chickens, like they don't stop COVID, and they don't take away all the deaths, and they don't take away the job losses and the economy and all the things that have happened this last year that are really terrible, and they don't necessarily make parenting easy. However, they do give us joy. And the chickens actually give us joy on a daily basis. And they have brought connection. And our daughter, Phoenix, she was home. So we got like the payoff, like the chicken payoff.
Yeah, she had to be home for 4 weeks.
Yes,
right?
It was a long time.
She had to do her mortal 4 weeks.
She was here the first time a chicken laid an egg. And it was like night and day from like one day to the next. I mean, like she was pretty mopey, and because it was hard to be home when her friends, most of the school is in session and she has to be home. And the day that she found the first egg, she was so excited.
Right. It also made it like it's special for her, that she was actually not missing out, and that, she was sharing that she was at home with her chickens. None of her classmates have chickens.
Right.
So that was really nice. And I think you said something about, that we have something to share together. I think also with all the things that went on during the pandemic, we were thinking about how it is affecting us. All these things are happening to the world and to our family members. But the nice thing about the chickens is they're kind of living in that sort of, environment,
They're in the moment.
And they're in the moment, and you start caring for something outside of yourself. And it really was nice to sort of get out of our own heads about all the ramifications day to day and what's happening here and there, and just go, you know what? These things need our attention.
It's not about the objects. Like, there's a bunch of things being sold on Amazon and Instagram and all that stuff nowadays, and I think, like, from the outside, I was looking at the lifestyle aspect of it, like the homesteading lifestyle, and then when I was actually doing it, I was like, it's really about the experience. So that's been, like, definitely one of the silver linings of being locked down together is having, like, sharing the experience.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it that way, but that's totally true.
Our children, they really didn't leave the house for like 3 months. When we got chickens, it was like, here is something constructive to do. And it felt like going towards something positive, like going towards life. And I still feel that way. I mean, it's much more open now. Like, we both had our first dose of vaccine, which is amazing, feels great, and so grateful to the healthcare workers and the medical researchers who've gotten us this far. But, like, at the time, it felt so extreme. Like, when we were locking down in Montclair, New Jersey, it felt so intense. It was such an intense experience. So I think it was almost like, cracking the window and getting a breath of fresh air to let the chickens in. Like, it was kind of the idea of, like, what can we enter into our life that is going to be a jolt of positivity? And I have to say that it's worked. Phoenix took the chickens sledding.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
This has been a great backyard for us, and, like, it's got a slope, obviously. And so when we had a big snowstorm here in Nashville, Phoenix, she would take the chickens on the sled. Multiple chickens, multiple times. And they didn't mind the sledding. They were just I was a little worried that they would not like it, but they were totally I was like, don't hurt the chickens. And she was very gentle. She was very gentle with the chickens, and she held them very nicely, and then she would, like, let go at the end of the ride, and they would just, like, hang out with her. So we had the chicken named Nemo that was eaten by the hawk. We had a chicken named Nemo who was my son's favorite, and he cried. I felt so terrible. He cried and he cried and he cried. And then he stopped, and then he cried again with his dad. I felt like I just messed up so much. But when I think about, like, okay, I am supposed to be making mistakes because I'm supposed to be learning. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm succeeding in that,
Yeah. I think as a flock mom,
I'm definitely the mom.
Excellent job.
I'm definitely the mom. Well, Athena, our youngest, has broken a lot of eggs recently. One time she had 4 eggs in her hands. She tripped and she broke 3, and she was screaming like a banshee.
Upset.
She was so upset. And I feel really good because we stayed calm with her, and we're like, it's okay. We just reassured her. And so in some ways, what's nice about the chickens is, like, having the opportunity to be like, it's going to sound so terrible, but, like, to be a good parent.
When you made that purchase, we didn't know anyone getting chickens. Then it came out we had neighbors getting chickens, and we just jumped in. And,
it's
kind
of
the same,
us, isn't it?
Yeah, and the same thing here in Nashville, just kind of jumped in. And I think you just figure it out, and I think the chickens are very forgiving, and they're, resilient little,
it's funny you're saying that, because I was just thinking that you get what you want by doing things. Like, you can sit around and talk, but eventually you have to actually do things. And I think, like, life is work. We have a son that plays piano, and he plays piano very well. But at the end of the day, he needs to sit down and actually play the piano, and not, like, he has to practice. Like, there's a certain amount of life where you just have to show up for it. And I think, like, the reward of our life is our life. The punishment for our life is our life. And so with the chickens, like, what's so nice is that we put the time in every single day with the chickens, and then you get an egg or 10. You know, it's like we get something very tangible. It's like it's so deeply satisfying to see the fruits of our labor so directly. We take care of the chickens, and the chickens provide entertainment, and they're super funny. In the winter, they used to go on the windowsills a lot. We're in this rental house, and the chickens are right here, and they would like cuddle up and they'd watch us.
I mean, I kind of felt like the role was reversed. We were
entertainment for the chickens.
I mean, we were like human TV, because they were just sitting there like,
yeah.
And they always want to get in the house.
They want to come in the house.
I think the kids will, they're going to have memories that they'll share, with us, and then it'll be nice to hear that, be seasoned with the years and come back and be part of our family history.
Yeah, I also think we're going to have these chickens. Like, as long as we play our cards right. Well, we do have a new coop coming that's very secure. So we're going from 0 to 60. We have this very basic run that only has to last us for like another month and a half. And then we have a very big, I still went coop crazy. So, but it's pink. It's coming, it's pink.
I think back to your point, one of the nicest things is it really is a discovery process for the whole family, and it was something that we shared all. None of us had chickens before, so we all created our first time experience together as a family, and it has definitely brought us closer.
Yes. What do you think about the chickens?
I think they're really nice, great decision. Really funny. Do some funny things.
Like what?
Like whenever you try to give them bread, like they rush over it and it turns into like a war between the chickens. Like when they usually have a pecking order, but as soon as there's bread around, every single one of them does not care about the pecking order, and like they turn into like little savage chickens, which they're really funny.
What did we do this year that was super special with our eggs?
Dyed them.
Yeah, it was the first year we like had our own eggs.
Yes.
Wow, Phoenix.
Hello,
I kind of love this with the chickens in the background though, right?
It's cool.
It's cool, right? How old are you?
You
You tell me, how old are you?
I'm 7
I'm 7.
and a half.
And are you going to be a chicken farmer when you grow up?
No,
What are you going to do?
I'm gonna be a doctor and a war champion gymnastics helper.
helper?
Uh-huh.
Oh, are you going to be like a gymnastics doctor?
No, I'm gonna be a gymnastics. Like when I'm a teenager, I'm gonna be a gymnastics world champion gymnastics, like Duck Harris, Jack Harris, Duck.
Gymnast?
Yeah. Like a gym.
So are you going to be a doctor that does cartwheels down the hall?
Yeah. When I'm a teenager, I'm gonna study gymnastics and doctors.
Medicine.
Medicine.
What was it like to get the chicks?
It was really fun because I got to hold them, I got to check on them. They were really soft, like a softball, that what I was saying, because they have like so much like feathers. I pick up feathers like mostly every day. Athena's
Stop with your legs.
Athena pick up feathers like every day. How many feathers did you pick up? I want some, and all the times I like to. All the times like chickens drink water.
Chickens drink water. Hey, Athena, do you like to collect the egg? Get your finger on your nose. Athena, do you like to collect the eggs?
I want the shrimp.
Do you like to collect the eggs?
Do you like to connect the eggs?
Do you like to pick the eggs up? Do you like to pick up the eggs?
And I'm not to drop them. See? I'm not to drop them.
You're not going to drop them.
What is your favorite part of getting chickens? And what? Athena, we're going a pink coop.
Yeah, we're getting a pink coop.
Pink coop. And we're going a pink coop. A coop. The pink coop.
Yeah, we're getting a pink coop. Whose coop is it going to be?
Is ours. Mommy, mommy.
Let's see. Okay.
Lighten up, darling, everyone's trying. You're trying, I'm trying, our baby is trying. Our little girl's crying, my brother's dying. The whole world is crying just to lighten up.
So Sam is our second born. He is now 19, but when he was in second grade, he hatched chickens for a science unit in his class, and we kept him, and we raised chickens. My husband and I are not necessarily natural chicken people, but we became people who loved them, and largely because of Sam. He was just obsessed, and we would send him out to go catch them at the end of the day to bring him back into the coop. He was the one who knew how to do. We went camping once, and it was on this beautiful farm in North Carolina, and he spent the entire weekend there hunting these real free-range chickens down, and they were wild. I mean, they were living their best lives, eating their bugs, living in the forest, doing whatever they wanted. And before we left, we were like, "Where's Sam? Where's Sam?" And he comes out of the forest, right, with this gorgeous, fat, black and white speckled chicken under his arm with this look of absolute triumph, like, I am indeed the chicken guy. It was so sweet. Such a lovely little moment of Sam loving chickens and bringing that goodness into our lives.
What's that?
I'm putting butter and I'm putting butter. This is a real blood.
We got so lucky, so grateful. We found a beautiful 1956 ranch house closer to our children's school, and we got it. We somehow got it, and we're moving. Today is Saturday, and we're moving on Tuesday. So we got the coop delivered, and today we put the chickens in. It was a full family affair.
Yep.
Roark, Phoenix, Athena, George, myself, we all
Gave us a run for our money.
Yep. But we got the chickens here. The kids were a little fussy.
It was hot.
It was hot, they were tired, they were hungry. And here I'm going like, oh, you know, I wanna be that cool family where we're all like happy. And then I thought, you know what? Kids get tired and cranky. Kids get done with things, like that's real. And it's okay. Like, it's okay to be people. It's okay to get cranky sometimes. So we put all 19 chickens in the same large dog crate in the back of our Ford Explorer, and we drove them. There was no place for the chickens to hold on to, so they were on like a little insert that collected all the poop. They pooped in the car, but in a contained space, which was nice. Smelled terrible, but they were safe, and they would kind of slide. I tried to drive really pretty gently, but still they would slide a little bit. And some of them tried to nap, right? It was super cute. They were trying to nap. There was a little citrine. My little baby Millie Fleur was like under like two of the big full-grown chickens. They were so sweet. I had gone to Sean and Chris's house in the Catskills. They do the farmhouse project, and I'd filmed with a family that had beautiful chickens, and there was a beautiful little Millie Fleur. Her name was Lucy, and I thought she was the prettiest chicken I've ever seen. And then when I went to Meyer Hatchery, they had one chick left, just one of the Millie Fleur, and I said, this is my chick, isn't it? And they said, yes, it is. And so I took that one home. I've always wanted a Polish. We have Dulce the Polish now. Dulce and Citrine, the little Millie Fleur, they hang out together. So in the run, they're contained. We should have gone into the run, taken them out of the run, from the run to the car. But, you know, we wanted to give them a normal morning, and we weren't ready. We weren't gonna like lock them up all morning. So we let them, you know, we let them out, we let them eat, we let them roam and do their thing, say goodbye to the neighborhood. You know, I'm thinking of being like nice, and really we're just setting ourselves up for like a super challenge.
I actually had to change my shoes because I was slipping around so much. I had to put on different shoes.
Did you?
Because they're you know, they're hard little creatures to catch. And they have a lower center of gravity than I do, and but we strategized and we got it done. And
yeah. Originally, everyone was trying to do their own thing, and it wasn't working, and it really took us working together as a team to catch the last chicken. And so that had a lot of like parenting value, if you will. It was like, all right, this is a little annoying, but look, we learned something today, like woohoo! About like the last like 3-4 days, what we've done is we take the chicks out in the morning and we leave them all day. And like when it starts to get dark, we collect them and put them back down so they can sleep. But like they've been staying all day with the original flock. And I think, you know, I felt like today went well. I was joking around earlier about trauma bonding, but like we put all 19 in the dog crate on the way here, and I do actually, it sounds kind of obnoxious to say that, but I do think there's something to them all going through this experience together. They have to learn how to live together, right? Right, Pipe? This is Piper. Athena gave her lots of cuddles earlier. I'm afraid she's gonna poop on me, otherwise I put her on my lap. I was already pooped on. I had so much poop all over me earlier today. I was like covered in poop. So let's talk about the chicken coop. Our new chicken coop was built by the Amish in Pennsylvania. Super excited about the craftsmanship, that it is a American-built chicken coop, and they specifically painted it pink for me, and I had to wait over 6 months. When you first walk into the coop, it's storage, it's 3x7, and then it's 6x7 for the chickens where they get to sleep at night and roost, and then the actual run that's enclosed that's supposed to be like predator proof, that is 9 feet by 7 feet. What I like about it is that you can open the door, walk in. George is a tall man and like he won't knock his head. It's got a proper roof, so if it rains, the chickens are not gonna get wet. I love that. And I love that it's secure because we actually lost one to a fox. I like that it makes people happy. I like that the pink house, like maybe they don't want it in their own backyard. And that's okay. They don't have to have it. They can come over to my house and they can see our pink chicken coop, and we'll string some lights up, we'll plant some flowers that the chickens will probably eat later. But you know, it's gonna be really fun in our new house to welcome friends and family to come over and hang out with us. Now I'm very grateful to have something beautiful to put them in, and also something that's secure, that's gonna last. The idea is to like have this great coop that's gonna last us for years and years, hopefully 20 years, 30 years, you know, if ideally, because I'm officially a crazy chicken lady. I love it. No big surprise, right? Now I know that I want to do this for the rest of my life. Now I'm
chickens.
Yeah, I want to have chickens for the rest of my life, yeah. I honestly find watching the chickens incredibly soothing. I find it super soothing just to sit and watch them. And I don't actually do it enough. I feel like I need to spend more time just like, that's so super weird, but I feel like I need to spend more time watching my chickens and just like enjoying my chickens. Because whenever I actually just spend time with my chickens, it's so calming. I feel better. Like there's so much, our whole culture is built on like consumerism and distraction. Everyone's trying to pull us and be like, you need this, you gotta do this, you should be wearing this, you should be eating this, you should be going here. Like everything's trying to pull our attention and tell us like what we should be doing with our time, energy, money. And what's so nice about animals' nature is that they don't do that. There's a truthfulness in nature, and it makes me feel more connected to the universe or to God, like to be like, oh, I don't have to do anything. I could just be here in this moment. I could just enjoy this moment. My son and I are alike. My son can be very focused, and he plays piano, and that's one of the gifts he has, is his ability to like focus on the piano, and I can focus on my work. But that can also be a hindrance, because sometimes I get so obsessed or I get really anxious, and it can feel like the moment is just all consuming. And so it's good to be able to just let go and be like, you know, this is gonna pass. Like whatever it is, it's like I'm not gonna worry about it later on, and just wait, everything's gonna be okay. I grew up in Chicago, and when I was a kid, we used to go to the Museum of Science and Industry. There was an area where they had chicks, and every time you went, they had chicks, because they would just hatch them. They would have eggs, fertilized eggs, in this case with a heating lamp, and the chickens would hatch. So if you stood there, like at some point a chicken would hatch. And so I loved that as a child. I loved watching the chickens hatch out of the shell, poke out, and their gawky limbs coming out, and they're all sticky, and then they fluff up, and if you stand there long enough, you get to see this life cycle. And I think I was mesmerized by that. And we moved here to Tennessee during the pandemic, and one of the reasons we moved here was because all 4 of our babies were born here. I have 3 living children, and we have an angel who is buried here, and like Tennessee is a special place for me because it's like a place of fertility. And I think, I don't know, with the chickens, like they make me feel very connected to life, to the life energy, like the energy of creation. Animals and children rely on adults to take care of them. And so it's almost like an honor in some ways, because if you really think about it, an animal or a baby would die without the help of an adult. When I hold one of the chickens, I don't know if this sounds crazy, but it's like I can feel them breathing. Like I can feel that they're alive. Earlier, when we first put the chickens here, there was one that was out, and I went and I found her. Buttercup, one of the Buff Orpingtons, had gone around to the front of the house, and I found her, and I was so excited to find her. Like I didn't know how excited. I was like, oh, there you are. I was afraid I was gonna have to leave without you. So I catch her and I'm holding her, and it just was very gratifying to hold this. Like I felt having the responsibility actually was very gratifying, to be like, I've got you. Like I can do this. I can't fix the world, but I can like take care of this chicken. And it's very grounding to have something very like tangible results. Here are these like I can do this. I can, right? You look so happy.
Yeah.
No, it's nice.
I wasn't on board, but I really appreciate that you pursued and you really got them. I mean, I know you're talking about the coop and everything, but the initial impetus was to get something for the kids. Like,
That's true.
if we're going to be, homebound and we can't go to the beach, and we can't, we need, the first idea actually was we were going to build a tree house. And you're like, you're going to build a tree house. And I was like, oh man, that is not an easy. I mean, I got like a hammer and nails, but a legitimate.
He doesn't like to build things.
I don't mind it, but it's not like my go. I'm not, that's not my go-to. Anyway, so I was like, we actually picked this is the weekend we're going to build this, tree house, like you see in the movies. I was like, it's not going to happen that way. You need to put cement posts in. You got to do the whole thing. So you were like, okay, plan B, chickens.
We weren't going to go on spring break. We weren't going to spend money on camps. I looked at kind of the family budget a little bit and was like, okay, if we're not going to spend this money over here, why don't we take the money and put it into the chicken coop? I'm the one who went a little crazy and needed the pink one, of course. I was literally thinking okay, in May, I'll order it, we'll get it, and we're not going away, and we'll get the chicks, and everything was supposed to arrive, and we're gonna do this in the summer, and I was gonna have something joyful and fun to do with the kids. Do you think they're hard to keep, chickens? Chickens are not hard. They're pretty easy, and for the bang for your buck is very gratifying. For not that much effort, you get a really fun animal to watch that gives you food. Oh, you know what we're forgetting to talk about? The eggs. We get a ton of eggs and we give them away, and people love them. This is my chicken mansion. These are my girls. I'm gonna set the chairs out. I'm committed to spending more time hanging out with my chickens in the backyard because it makes me happy. It makes me happy. Are you gonna hang out with the chickens?
Well, yeah, when we put the hot tub in.